What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jay Will, and we're back with another sync banger. Today we'll be diving into the world of EQing your vocals for sync licensing purposes. Why? Because getting your vocals just right is going to make or break a sync deal, and we don't want that to happen. So buckle up, we're about to drop some knowledge bombs on how to EQ your vocals best for sync, and it will transfer over into the general public if you want to make music for fans and not brands instead. But regardless, we're going to make your vocals sound like a superstar. So let's get started. So you see, vocals could either be the cherry on top of a nice ice cream sundae or the annoying mosquito in the back of your ear. And trust me, you don't want those vocals to be the latter. Proper EQing techniques can help make the vocal shine, put the nice buff finish on it. It can help a mix sound perfectly balanced.
This whole thing should be.
And ultimately help you score that life-changing placement. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into this amazing song entitled Falling For You. I'm going to play it in context first before we dive into the EQ. So check this out.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, yeah, I'm falling for you.
Okay, so that's what it sounds like. What we're going to do basically is we're going to go over the different frequency ranges that affect the vocals the most, and then we're going to mix the taste. So let's go ahead and dive in. As you see, I have a plugin chain here already, and let's work with where it affects it the most. I personally like to use graphic EQs because I have to mix with my eyes because I'm in an untreated room for sync. So we're just going to add a EQ at the very end. I like to make sure that auto gain is on so I'm not turning something up and thinking it sounds better than it actually is. Basically, what we have here are our frequency ranges that we like to focus on. 60 hertz to about 250 is going to be your low bass range of a vocal, and we'll isolate it so you can hear it. There we go. So anything, so let's split the difference right here. There we go. So anything around this range right here is going to be your bass frequencies. Let's hear what it sounds like on his vocal. This is obviously not a very bassy singer, which is good because it doesn't fit the song. This range normally gives you the body of a vocal that you'll normally need to obtain a fullness in a voice. Boosting this range is going to make your vocal sound present and give it that extra power that you may need, but doing too much is going to make it sound muddy and also boomy. I'll demonstrate. Low cut from 60, high cut from 250. If we boost it, this is what happens. So messing with this range is going to basically give you the fundamentals of this vocal that we're dealing with. Think of it as that deep rumbling engine of a muscle car. Too much, it gets muddy. Too little, and it makes it feel weak. So let's take that bass range away and see what it does to his voice.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
I'm gonna take it out.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, falling for you. Falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, yeah, I'm falling.
So you got to be careful with that. Next is the low mids, which generally cover from 200 hertz to about, say about 800. So let's do that on the EQ real quick. 200-ish to 800-ish. And again, these parameters depend on the vocal that you're working with. Sometimes they all shift if you're working with a voice that's higher pitched. You're going to be dealing with frequencies in the same ranges, but they might be different, shifted up or down depending on if it's a soprano, an alto, a tenor, a bass. But this is what the low mids sound like in general.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, yeah, I'm falling.
A lot of the fundamentals are also coming from his voice specifically in this range. They contribute to a real chesty or throaty character in a vocal.
Again, but now say it with your chest.
Boosting in this range normally adds a lot of warmth and depth to the voice. Too much and it'll sound muffly and muddy. Let's try it.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, falling for you.
It sounds a bit muffled. This is normally where the body of the sound is. If we take too much away, again, it makes it sound a little brittle and weak. Let's do the opposite now.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling, falling, yeah, I'm falling.
Although it does make a cool telephone sounding effect. So next is the mid-range, and that's normally where most vocal engineers will tell you that's where the money is. This spot in an EQ is normally known as the presence range for a vocal, and it normally ranges from anywhere between 500 to about, give or take, 2000 hertz. 2,000 to 4,000, depending on, again, the vocal. And this is normally the most important frequency range.
Very important.
It contains a lot of harmonics that are above the fundamental of a voice as far as frequency is concerned, and what gives a voice its character and intelligibility. Boosting a lot in this range normally will give you either a lot more clarity or it'll make it start sounding more nasally, which is not what we want.
Oh, God, no.
Obviously. Let's try it out and figure out if it works for this. So we're going to move this to 500-ish. We're going to move this one to, let's split the difference. Let's go to like 3,000.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
Also, if you isolate this a bit more, you're going to get that telephone sounding effect. Check this out.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
Taking away from this range is going to do the opposite, so you're not going to have as much clarity if you take away.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, falling for you. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
So it's the opposite.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
So that's where most of the presence is going to be. On this vocal specifically,
Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
we had a lot of resonant frequencies, as you can see here,
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
that were a bit too hot. As you can see here, there's one at this range. These are both E's, which means they're the fundamental of his voice. Because of that, we turned it down a bit because it was a little too present. So we didn't want that nasally telephone effects. Next is honestly my favorite part of mixing a vocal, and that's the high end,
High end, VIP exclusive.
which normally ranges again from anywhere between 4,000 to 20,000 hertz. And that's normally around this range right here. And normally we don't use a bell curve for it, we use a shelf. So everything around here and up. And what this does is it makes a vocal sound closer to you. Whereas if you're further away from a mic, you start to lose the top end, right? So if you want something to sound real close without blowing someone's ears apart, this is the range you do that in. It gives a lot of brightness to a voice, or air is what a lot of producers or engineers will call it.
Breathe the air our ancestors breathed.
But using too much, again, you're going to get that brittle sound. So here it is isolated real quick. No one wants to hear that just by itself. But when you use it to enhance what you're already doing,
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah.
it adds a crispiness, not a crusty, but a crispiness to the vocal. You can also do this with plugins like Fresh Air. I think it's still free with Slate Digital. It just gives that extra pop glossy shine, like a new wax on a sports car, if you will. Too little, your vocal's going to lack excitement.
Boring.
Let's see the opposite now.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
You hear how it like immediately becomes more lively when you add that back.
Shing, sparkle, sparkle.
So very important to make sure you add some air to the tone. Now that we understand where the frequency ranges are, now we can start mixing to taste. So the first thing I like to do is cut any low end that is not necessary. So if we listen to this in context,
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
and normally it's best to listen to the vocal in context song. So that's what we're gonna do. But we're gonna turn off the rest of his backgrounds because we're just mixing this vocal.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling.
So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna cut the mud. Normally that's any unnecessary frequencies that we don't need to hear the quality of his voice. So I'll switch back and forth between listening in solo and listening with the rest of the song just to make sure I get the character that I want.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, falling for you. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
We're gonna cut some of this right here.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
We also want to tame the boxiness. Now the boxiness is this curve right here. Normally it's around 500 to 800.
They are awfully boxy.
So if we dip this a little bit, actually we're going to expand what it's affecting. There we go. And if we listen for that boxiness, we don't want those.
Tasted like cardboard.
So we're going to take that down just a little bit.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. falling.
Awesome. If you don't make sure you tame this boxiness frequency right here, it's going to sound like he's singing in a cardboard box.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
So a technique that I'm doing right now is called dynamic EQ. Basically what it does, it sets a compressor up like a multi-band compressor, and it only compresses this band as much as I request it to.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah.
That way it sounds a little bit more natural when it happens. If you're digging tips like these, make sure you show some love, follow, and subscribe. If you got any other questions that I might not have touched so far, make sure you write those in the comments as well. Let's keep going. So what else we got here is, now that we've taken away the unwanted frequencies,
Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
there's still some resonant frequencies that are happening here. So normally what I would do is I would curve those down just a bit. Now, old school, the way to do it was with taking a band like this and just doing a frequency sweep. But now, thanks to technology, we don't have to waste our time doing that. We can see literally exactly what's a little too hot as far as frequency bands are concerned. And so I'll turn that down just a bit.
Yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
Excellent. And now maybe we need to enhance the clarity. Now let's listen in context real quick before we do any type of extra addition or additive EQ. You normally like to do the subtractive first, make sure everything's clean, then I run it through some type of compressor, and then I'll EQ to taste on the boosting side near the tail end of my vocal chain.
This is addition by subtraction.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, falling for you. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah.
Okay, so going back here, let's enhance just a bit on the top end. We want a little more presence, and I'm going to do that by boosting around a 3000 hertz.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
And automatically you can hear the difference. It sounds a lot closer or a lot clearer. We'll add just a little boost of air and shine. The way he recorded these vocals, I actually like what he's already done. So I'm going to boost just a tad bit here. Normally with EQ, unless it's for sound design, what I like to do is just make sure that I'm not boosting or taking away more than 4 to 5 decibels if I'm sound designing. But if I'm carving out a vocal like this is normally, we make smaller adjustments. As you see here, if we actually zoom into what I'm doing, this is what it actually looks like. So just food for thought.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling for you. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
We still got a resonant frequency here that's been bothering me, so I'm gonna turn that down just a bit. Again, add some compression or dynamic EQ to it, and then I'm gonna bring it up just a bit.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling.
Now it sounds a lot more controlled. Now let's listen to it in context again.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling.
You don't want to overdo it with compression on your vocals. Another rule of thumb that I like to use, and this isn't even related to EQ unless you're using a dynamic EQ, but I like to make sure that you're compressing no more than about 3 decibels, because then it's going to start sounding unnatural. Now we're going to turn on this background vocals. We do the same thing with those as well. And we also, I'm going to turn on the actual chain here. Now let's listen in context again.
Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, yeah, I'm falling. Falling, falling for you.
Now that we understand how to use the EQ when it comes to vocal ranges and things of that nature, now let's narrow down for sync licensing. 3 things you need to remember. Number 1, you need to consider the end usage of where these vocals are going to be heard. Think about where the track is going to be. Is it going to be in a TV show? Is it going to be in a movie, some type of advertisement? Tailor the EQ to fit that vibe and context. Just like you would maybe put on a specific fit when you're going out to eat at a seafood restaurant versus going to a barbecue joint. You wear different clothes because you know that stuff might end up on the drip. You see what I'm saying? So that's something you have to kind of take into context. Also, understanding where it's going to be heard by the end user. If they're listening, if you know that this vocal is going to be used on an advertisement for social media, maybe you don't focus as much attention on the things lower than 800 hertz because most phone and laptop speakers are terrible.
Garbage.
Right? So understanding that and making making the vocal pop a little bit more because of where you know it's going to be heard. These are kinds of things that you can kind of start thinking about when you're mixing for sync licensing purposes. Second thing is versatility. Again, I say this all the time on my channel.
Here we go again.
Being versatile with all the types of products that you create as a music producer or indie artist in this realm is going to be the best thing that you could possibly do, because if it fits here and it fits here, you're going to get paid twice.
Paper.
See what I'm saying? So make sure your EQing doesn't pigeonhole you into one specific mood or genre. So if you have a telephone effect, make sure you're maybe mixing it parallel or having a version without that on there, because some brands or TV shows, what have you, might like the effect, but it doesn't fit for the brand message that they're trying to portray. Does that make sense? We want to always just aim for a well-balanced, polished vocal that can work on various media projects. Again, think about that wardrobe. So you got to be versatile. Wearing a hoodie could work at a bonfire. It can work maybe at an investor tech company, but it's not going to work in a banking situation. So just understanding kind of where your vocal fits is going to help you make sure that it's as versatile as it needs to be. It's not going to fit everything. Obviously, you can't wear swimming trunks to a gala, right?
Yes, I can.
Unless it's maybe for the Met Gala or something like that. It needs to fit in at least one or two different areas. And then the third thing, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with EQing unless you're using a dynamic EQ, but do not over compress. I can't establish this enough. You want your vocal to sound as natural as possible, because again, if it sounds as if the person, when they put on headphones, they're listening on their phone or what have you, they feel like the singer's right in front of them talking, kind of like how I'm talking to you right now, it's going to make the vocal sound more expensive. If it sounds more expensive, you're probably going to get that expensive pay too. Over compressing a vocal is kind of like having too much makeup. It just looks caked up and nasty. And that's how it kind of comes off as far as the aesthetic of what they're listening to with a vocal as well. We want to enhance the features, not like distract them. Bonus tip, what we want to also do with the vocals is we want to make sure that they fit well into your song. So what I like to do is I'll take like, was it Track Shaper or Soothe 2, and I'll find the frequencies where the vocal is most powerful and present, and I'll carve that out in the actual instrumental song and make sure that whenever that vocal triggers, it pushes the song down in those select frequencies so the vocal kind of shines a little bit more. And you know what?
But wait! There's more.
I'm gonna give you one more tip, okay? This is probably something that's changed my processing of vocals more than anything. If I can find a reference vocal of something that I feel like the artist sounds close to, that's gonna give me a ballpark point to try to swing and hit. So for instance, this vocal sounds very, very similar to a Weeknd style song. So understanding that, I can take a acapella from the Weeknd's catalog and maybe compare the two and find out, okay, the reason why his vocal sounds so lush is because they boosted in that lower mid-range area, whereas the vocal that we just worked on may be lacking. So understanding that and being able to actually see it on a graphic EQ is extremely helpful. But that's it. That's how you EQ vocals specifically for sync. It's just a different mentality switch that you have to kind of hit. If you found this helpful, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what other kind of questions you might have in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Peace.